In this presentation, we will process payroll in QuickBooks, a plain payroll, a payroll with one employee and no benefits, so that we can see how this information will process and use it as a comparison going forward as we add levels of complexity within QuickBooks. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info. Here we are in the home page. We currently have the open windows open. To open the open windows, go to the View drop-down and Open Windows list. We're going to go down here to the Employees section. We're going to run a payroll, a simplified payroll with our one employee by selecting the Pay Employees section. If you're in the free version, you can still test these out and do similar tests in the manual version, which is great. But this tab might look a little bit different here. We're on the Paid Payroll tab. And we're on the Pay Employees tab. We're going to go to Pay Employees here. Once you do this and go through this process, the screens will look similar whether you're in the manual version or paid version. We're going to go ahead and say Pay Employees in this paid version. And it's going to say, hey, we haven't set up a checking account yet. And so if you haven't set up a checking account, we're going to set up a checking account so that we can run things. So we're going to say, yes, let's set one up. It's going to be a bank account, and I'm just going to call it the checking account. It's going to be a checking account, and that's all we need for the account type. And we're going to say save and close. And now we can move forward and process our payroll. We're going to be entering the payroll as of the year 2018 here. So we're going to start with January 31st, 2018, the first month. Just be aware that if you're kind of testing the payroll, the paid version, the system has to have the pay tables in it in order to process the payroll, and they only have the pay tables up to a certain point. So you may be able to test, in other words, in the past, because the pay table should be there. If you try to test too far in the future, it'll have problems unless it uses the same tables, which it could, but it may have difficulties. So we're going to stay here in 2018, and we're going to then enter the date. So if you want to test this, in other words, at different time periods, you can do a similar process in either the year we are in or possibly the prior year. May even be safer, because then it should have the tables all the way through to the end of the year if you're testing the data. So we're going to go in January 31st, 2018. We're going to pay it on the next day, 02/01/18. So we're going to pay each month, and so it'll be at the end of the month. That's the end of the pay period for that full month. And then we're going to pay it on the next day. So we'll have that kind of timing difference, and we'll see how QuickBooks deals with that when we process the reports. So then we're going to check off Anthony here. And we're going to have handwritten checks. So I'm going to go to handwritten checks and 1001 here. And I'm not going to spend too much time going over the check process. We'll take a look at that in later presentations. What we want to do is just see how the calculations will be formatted. So then we're going to check off Anthony, and then we'll go into Anthony more here. Once there, then we're going to say the hourly rate. This is all we should need to fill in. And QuickBooks should then fill in the rest of the data for us. That's the beauty of it. So we're going to say for this entire month of January, it's 161 hours, and overtime is 1 hour of overtime. So 161 and 1 hour of overtime. And then QuickBooks just populates everything else for us. So notice, of course, what it did: gross pay, overtime, 25 times 161, and 3750 times 1. It will give us that. And then the federal withholdings, this is really what we're paying for here. We don't know. That's tough to know because he has to have tables to do that, and that's a real pain to do by hand. We'll see that in a later presentation, but it's not something you really want to have to do for a lot of employees, or even one, really. So then you got the Social Security and Medicare, which is a pretty easy thing to calculate typically for the most part until the cap is hidden. So that's 4025 plus the 37.5 times 0.062. So it calculated that for us, rounding it to the penny. And we say that the Social Security and then the Medicare, 4025 plus 37.5 times 0.0145 gives us the 5880.91. Again, rounding to the penny here. And then the California taxes, again, these are two that we want help with, because the state taxes will differ. California, this will be a similar kind of progressive tax, meaning it'll have different tax rates, as does the federal. and therefore we have to use tables typically, and that's again something that we don't really want to have to do. And so it's nice that the system well, that's what we're paying for really. And then the disability, again, nice that the system will pay for that. Then we have the employer. So the net check here is, of course, this amount, the gross pay minus what we took from them. Here's the net check. And then on the employer side, we've got the California training tax. Again, something very nice that the system helps us to calculate, not coming out of the paycheck. It's a California tax for the employer only. Social Security, matching. We've got the Medicare matching. We've got the federal unemployment, which is an employer-only tax. So it's here. It's not coming out of the paycheck at all. We're paying over and above. These are all being paid over and above what's being pulled out of the paycheck. And then the California unemployment. All these very nice to have paid systems, so QuickBooks will calculate what they are. Again, the Social Security and Medicare, not too difficult, flat taxes to understand, but the rest of them could be a little bit more difficult to know and calculate, and therefore we rely a bit more on the system typically for them to do so. So then we're going to say save and close. Save and close. We'll check that everything looks good, everything looks proper, date's fine, everything's good. Then we will continue with this process, and I'm going to go ahead and create the paycheck. Once the paycheck is created, we can either print the paychecks or look at the stubs. And note, if we're given this by hand, we still need to give the employee something. So I'm going to go to the stub and just preview it. So even if we handwrite the check, we can handwrite the check for the net check, but we still need to give them something like this to tell them, hey, this is what you earned. This is what we took from you and why, because we're not going to keep it. We're going to pay it to the Fed. And here's the net pay. So I'm going to close this back out, close this out, close this out. And then let's just check the banking account, the check register, by going to banking up top, use register, and OK. Here's our one check that we just wrote. If we want to see the detail on it, we can double click right on that paycheck, and it'll give us the detail, and then paycheck detail here gives us back to this detail. So I'm going to close this back out, close this back out. Next time, we're going to take a look at the reports and analyze what's going on with the payroll reports, and actually look at the W-2 format as we go, so we can see how that's being differentiated as we add levels of complexity, and the Form 941, which is going to be the quarterly reporting forms. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info.